Hey guys, Joe Madden here, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast, joined this morning by Brad Powers of Covers.com. Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Joe.
It's a pleasure to have you. I'm so excited to hear about your story into the industry, what you've got going on at Covers, and then we're going to touch on some NFL. So let's start with your story into the industry, Brad. How did you come about working in this industry?
It started about 13 years ago. I joined Phil Steele Publications. The guy working there at the time, Ralph Michaels of Cal Sports, who's working at Wager Talk now, hired me. He seemed to like me and appreciated that maybe I could be an up and comer in the industry. So I worked there for like 5 or 6 years, mainly college football, NFL, football only there. And kind of learned how to handicap more than the betting side of things, as far as situational handicapping, breaking down teams, how to make a power rating on a team. That's really what I learned those 5, 6 years there. And then, 6 years ago, I moved to Vegas and I became more involved on the betting side of things. I mean, that was the main reason why I moved here to Vegas. I wanted to bet more. And at the time, the only place that you could, legally bet in the US at that time was Vegas. So, since then, just been growing my brand and trying to be making some positive EV bets.
Absolutely. That's what we're all here for, making those positive EV bets. Great story. I love how you got into the industry working with Ralph Michaels. That would have been incredible. We know he's a legend in this industry. Where did the passion for sports originally come from, Brad?
From my dad, he was a football fan. Growing up, we had season tickets to Notre Dame football, so I mean, it's it started there. So, and then believe it or not, it wasn't necessarily on the betting side. I mean, I was so confident in some of my opinions on college football that I would make some bets, but my dad never made a bet in his life, and it just I wanted to make money, so I was working. I went to college for broadcast journalism. I wanted to do like sports journalism, whether,
Yep.
I knew at the time, newspapers were a dying industry. So I wanted to do radio, TV. I had more of a face for radio. So that's what I started doing. And I found out that you didn't make too much doing sports radio, especially in small and medium markets starting off. So I did more of the betting side of things. That's where I found you can make a little bit more money doing that.
Absolutely. Now, do you remember that very first bet you made?
Oh, I mean, legally or illegally? I mean, legally it was
Illegally, probably.
yeah, legally. I mean, I could tell you one that comes to mind is the 1993 Notre Dame Florida State game as 1 versus 2 matchup, very well known game. I bet all my buddies in class that Notre Dame would win, even though Florida State at the time was a 7 point favorite. So that's the first one I can remember. I bet my Notre Dame fanship one time. I was actually a USC fan growing up, and I bet my dad on the game if USC would lose, then I'd become a Notre Dame fan. That was when I was like 6. So yeah, I mean I was betting per se, but not necessarily legally on the up and up.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize how much just in their daily life they're betting things without even realizing, like family members, like you said, like I bet this team is going to win. Um, Betting has been a great area for so many years. What do you think the positive of everything becoming legalized has done in this industry, Brad?
Well, it's certainly brought more eyes and attention, which I think is certainly a positive. There's more places to bet. I mean, believe it or not, even though I'm sitting here in the state of Nevada, I mean, I'm still driving to Arizona because there's different sports books there to bet. So, in my opinion, that's a positive. I mean, there's been some negatives too, because I mean, I think there's just a lack of general knowledge about the industry, and I think people make a lot of general assumptions that just aren't true and whatnot, and a lot of that stuff is getting popularized. But since that ruling from the Supreme Court, and which is now going on 4.5 years ago, I mean, I think it's been a positive just from the general national attention. It's not you don't have to make certain when you're talking about it. You don't have to do wink, wink, nod, nod
Yeah.
sort of things when you're on like general college football shows or football shows in general. Now it's just out in the forefront. You could say, hey, I bet this team -7. And at least that kind of knowledge, people have a better understanding than what they did 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I love that. And you make a good point. There is a lot of education still needed for the public, especially with all of the states becoming legalized, for people to understand return on investment and why betting a minus 300 bet is not a good thing. When you are betting handicapping games, what is the highest money line odds that you're willing to take?
Well, I can say a minus 300 bet could be good if I think the real true, odds are minus 1,000. So
Yeah.
I'm not afraid at that point to lay 300. And what have I done? I'm trying to think of one that I've laid. I think I bet as much as like minus 500 that Duke one year when Zion Williamson was their player. I bet I laid minus 500 with the field
Okay.
that Duke wouldn't win the national title that year. So just because I thought the true odds were more than that. So uh, I'm not opposed to laying any kind. I bet some Super Bowl props where I laid no, there won't be a safety, and I've laid 10-1 that there wouldn't.
Yep.
So I'm not afraid to bet a little to win a lot, or bet a lot to win a little.
The Super Bowl props can be so much fun. What's your favorite prop to bet in the Super Bowl?
Oh, the one that I think has the most positive EV. So
Yeah.
it changes on a year in and year out basis. I mean, I have bet, some exotics in the past that have been fun. And just because, I mean, you could, 5, 6 years ago, I mean, it's kind of been ruined now, but the national anthem, the length of it, I mean, I have won some bets on that going over, betting in some offshore markets there. That's been
Yep.
fun. Uh, yeah, I'll say, I always remember the least fun bets. And there was one a couple years ago with Patrick Mahomes total rushing yards that he easily had. And he had 3 kneel downs at the end of the game against the 49ers. And typically, when you're kneeling down, you're losing a couple of yards. And he ended up losing 15 yards on 3 kneel downs. And I won some of my early bets on that, but I kept betting it. I bet like over 28 and a half, over 29 and a half, over 30,
Yep.
and I lost the majority of my bets on that prop. So that was one that I really remember that I lost.
Brad, I remember that one. It
Oh
it
yeah.
was painful watching him, scramble back and take the knee. We all knew we were losing on that. I had that with you. I felt your pain completely. What do you think, looking back over all of your bets over the years, is there one that you're just like totally sticks out on your mind? Either you sweat it out and you lost it, or it was one that you're just like, you were for sure that you're going to win it and it just came in so nicely for you.
Oh wow. Again, I always remember the losers over the winners. I mean,
Yep.
I was in a national contest, a Gold Nugget contest, and I know it's a year-long process where you're picking 7 games each week, NFL and college football. And I'm up at the top of the leaderboard within a game or so from winning the top prize. It was 150,000. Ended up it didn't work my way where I was in a battle for like the third spot, so the third and fourth spot. So there was a difference of about 10 grand on the line, and I had Ohio State. I was in the Rose Bowl a couple years ago. They're up 28-3 in the game. I was laying less than a touchdown, and somehow, some way, they gave up the back door with about 20 seconds left against Washington. It cost me about 10 grand that I thought I was in the bag.
Yep.
So that one sticks out.
Those backdoor covers of those underdogs really can hurt us against the spread. That's moving us into football. Football's right around the corner, Brad. Is there anything that you're already looking at for futures or in that week one?
So I'll say, generally speaking, I really attack the college markets. I made over 240 college football bets already. I
Wow.
bet 75 season win totals. NFL's probably easier to narrow down. I've only made about a dozen bets there. The ones that I particularly like in the NFL involved, I kind of like play out the division. So a lot of times I find myself playing on and against teams in a division. So two divisions that I attacked early in the process: AFC North, where obviously, hindsight's 2020.
Yep.
I wish I attacked it more with it looks like Deshaun Watson for the Browns is not only going to be suspended for a few games, he could be suspended for the whole season. I thought there was at least a 50%, if not greater than 50% chance he might miss a couple of games. So what I attacked was the week one game against
Yep.
Carolina. I bet Carolina, and I still think Carolina is offering up value. You can still find that +3, +2.5 if a book's still hanging that number out in the marketplace. And not only Deshaun Watson not playing for the Browns, but I also think there's a decent chance that Carolina could upgrade at quarterback between now and the start of that game. Maybe they get like a Jimmy G. So I think
Ooh.
Carolina wins the game. So
Yep.
that's one where I like quite a bit. And coming off the Browns, I mean, I like the Ravens to win the AFC North. So I bet them 2-1. I bet them over their season win total. If the Browns are going to take a fall, I think the Ravens are best positioned because the Steelers, in my opinion, are rebuilding, probably start a rookie
Yeah.
quarterback. And then Cincinnati, I think there's a Super Bowl loser hangover effect for them. So that's a couple teams that I've attacked so far.
Yeah, I definitely like the Ravens in there. It's going to be a great division. But I'm with you. Browns and Steelers probably at the bottom. I think the Bengals have an okay season, but I think the Ravens definitely have a better one. Anything else that you're looking at for the start of the NFL season?
Yeah, I mean, the other division that I attacked was AFC South. I think I
Okay.
expect the Colts to win that division. So
Okay.
I attacked their season win total. I went over. I think Matt Ryan, at least for a year, maybe two, if you can get that out of him at his age, I think is a big improvement over what they had a year ago in Carson Wentz. And I think that roster is built to make a playoff run, especially, one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. And it's also me fading the other teams in the division. Obviously, Houston and Jacksonville are two of the bottom five teams in the NFL, but it's also kind of fading Tennessee. I
Okay.
think I'm playing it out in my mind. You look at Vrabel, who's got a lot of, I think a lot of leeway. So if he wants to, make a move to like a Malik Willis, if a Tannehill's not working out, maybe they lose a few games. I could see that play out this year as they build for the future. I also didn't buy when you look at their profile from a year ago. I mean, that was a team that was very fortunate to win as many games as they did. And, I'm not a big Tannehill fan. So I expect the Colts to win that division. So I bet under Tennessee season wins, over for the Colts.
I like that. I really do like what you're looking at with the Colts. I think they're going to have a strong season. Matt Ryan stepping in as quarterback there. It's going to be interesting. The Colts have been through so many quarterbacks, it seems, as of late. What is your faith in Matt Ryan?
Well, I think he's played on a pretty crappy team the last few years. I mean, the fact that Atlanta's won as many games as they had, I think, is a testament more to Matt Ryan. He hasn't had that great of, going back to, you got to go back to maybe the 16-17 seasons where he had a lot of skill position talent surrounding him. He hasn't had much, and now he does. I mean, he's got a capable running back. He's got a couple capable receivers, and more importantly, he's got an offensive line that'll keep him upright. So, and also, I'll say this, Joe. Uh, I guess I'm not as negative on aging quarterbacks as I used to. It's just not Tom Brady. It's a lot of these other guys are performing well, late in their 30s at a very high level. So, and I haven't seen a precipitous drop off in Matt Ryan at least yet. I
Yeah.
think it helps that he plays indoors. He's playing indoors again. He's in a division that, I mean, he's playing with some warmer weather teams. So, yeah, I don't have that much concern for him.
Well, that is good to hear. Now, how many more years do you think we see Tom Brady in the league, Brad? I got to ask because we all thought he retired. I guess it was not where he wanted to be. So back. What do you
Uh,
think? Couple more, or is this the last
No,
season?
if I was a betting man, and I am, I would say this is it. I mean, he's definitely got something to fall back on now. I mean, what was
Yeah.
that? A 10-year, $300 million contract with Fox to be a broadcaster. I mean, that's not too shabby as far as a backup plan to go along with all his other businesses that he has. He's probably just disappointed the way the season ended. I thought, when they had, home field advantage there against the Rams, a
Yeah.
game that they, probably could have won. And he's looking at the rest of the NFC. Obviously, there's no more Drew Brees to compete against and whatnot. I think, and just the competitive spirit that's in him. I mean, I'm not totally stunned that he came back for this year. I would be surprised if he came back after this season.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Tom Brady. I'm never thinking that he's going to be gone, even if he says he's retired again. It's something just interesting how that all played out. But, Brad, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do at Covers?
Yeah, so just recently announced, I'm going to be doing a few release shows each week for covers this season. And what basically we're going to do, we're going to attack some markets, and it's going to be kind of like, betting like a pro. I'm looking at the board, and I'm just going to be giving out picks and bets that are to be made, whether it's college football, the NFL. We're going to attack some early week markets that I don't guess. I know that's what I'm known for as far as attacking early week markets. I'd much rather bet against individual bookmakers than wait till game day and bet
Yeah.
against the rest of the world. So we're going to be doing that early in the week. And we'll have another late week show on Saturday mornings. We're going to be betting FCS. A lot of value in the FCS, and the last couple of years, books have finally been able to post some numbers there. They're very soft, so I'm expecting big things. I know winning is tough, but if you're betting live like a pro, and finding the best number, and you're betting when a lot of these numbers are opening up, it's a lot easier to win than it is betting into much more liquid markets.
Absolutely. Now, Brad, if people are looking to watch this show, where can they find it?
Yeah, I mean, you can just follow me on Twitter at BradPower7. I'll be tweeting out the links to the show each and every week. So follow me on Twitter at BradPower7. I'll have more information on my personal website, BradPowerSports.com, and then you can follow Covers, and Adam Chernoff is going to be the host for it. So you can follow those guys as well.
Excellent. Brad, it was a pleasure to have you on today. All the best in all of your futures that you have in college and pro football. And thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
Have a great day. Thanks, Brad.
Take care.